Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Town Planning Board. First item on the agenda, of course, is always the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 13th, 2021 minutes.
Second.
And second by Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved as written. Before we call the next item on the agenda, I'm going to deviate and I'm going to make an announcement that number 4 on the agenda is the application by Andrew Day of Labella Associates for a site plan and special use permit for a solar array on Salt Springs Road. That request has been withdrawn in its entirety. So that is totally removed from our calendar. In case there's anybody in the audience before that. The next item on the agenda is Route 5 Development Corporation regarding 540 Town Drive, Fayetteville. This is a site plan for a two-building site plan.
We didn't know how you wanted to proceed tonight. We did receive a new comment from the county that we sent in a plan for. I assume everyone saw it. It was really just, we had neglected to screen the trash enclosure. And so we did send around a new plan. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that we did address the county's comment regarding screening and at least with regard to those dumpster enclosures. We did add landscaping to the plan to address that. We also, I don't know how we need to proceed. We got a memo from Doug Miller yesterday. And speaking of the devil, right on cue. Let's not say that. So well, maybe before that, I don't know if anybody has questions about the landscaping plan. You know, it really, we think we've got quite a bit of the screening. We replaced all the screening that was there with new screening, added quite a bit.
The change in the landscaping plan was just to add screening around the back of the dumpster. Closest to the leader, correct. Yeah, it was left off the plan. We had it on there earlier, but we missed it on this last one. So that's the only change.
Just what I was going to say, do you want us to walk through the comments that came from town engineer? Is that helpful?
If you have the ability to cover them, the reason I had put out the call this afternoon was when I took the time to review them, I was concerned that I felt that we really probably couldn't proceed unless these were addressed.
Okay.
So if you're able to address them.
We think we are.
Okay, please.
I'm going to let Carly do that. And we do have our engineer here on, I believe, is remotely here if we need to get into anything.
Carly Henson, Board Development. So there are 8 items that Doug sent us. The first one was a current updated SWIP. We forwarded an electronic copy today, and the hard copies will follow. The lighting plan was included in the full SWIP and the full set. I'm not sure if there was some other question regarding the lighting, but the photometric plan and the lighting layout was included in the full set of drawings. So if there's follow-up questions or clarifications, I can address those.
Can we just stop one by one? So Doug, you still need to review that lighting plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
did you say the lighting plan was in the SWIP or in the full set of drawings?
The lighting plan is in the full set of drawings that was submitted are dated on the 15th.
and this, but the SWIP you still need to review, right? Before we do an approval. Okay.
The SWIP was minor modifications based on this layout, but that did just go today, so he hasn't had a chance to look at that.
Okay.
The third item was pedestrian movements within the lot 15 area. I'm not sure if there was anything specific. A couple of things came across as I was looking at it, trying to review that comment. Is there a way to?
Yep, I have to promote you, so I sent you a request. Will you accept that? Okay. And you should be able, once you're a panelist, you should be able to screen share.
Sure.
Sorry. It's okay.
I do a lot of sports series.
Okay, so you just have to open up your Zoom. Okay, and then whichever one you want to pick, so wherever that map is on any of these. So if you, but just so you know, before you hit share, that would show the whole world, all of your files.
Charlie has nothing to hide.
Yeah, I just, it gives me, you could just do screen and then open that up over the top. So if you do screen, yep, and then hit share. And then you can just, yeah.
This is a modification.
Okay, so pedestrian movements, we have sidewalks along the loop road with drop curbs at each intersection.
Genesis Street.
There were a couple of things that I noticed after looking at the comment. Going from restaurant B to restaurant A in this location, I would suggest we add a crosswalk between those two as a raised crosswalk. So like out here, the asphalt would come up. That way the sidewalk elevation would continue through between those two. And then the only other item was the crosswalk in the back of restaurant B would actually align with wherever their back door is. We would have to move that up. So it's not shown right at their back door, but that's the intent of it.
Mr. Hart has raised his hand and I think he'd like to move into the meeting. Is that Mr. Hart was your engineer?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? It's Andy Hart with Bergman.
Yes.
Okay. Just a point of clarification, Carly, that crosswalk is shown where it is so it can comply with getting the grading to work. So we could have a drop curb there. So if we moved it to the north, it wouldn't work very well. So that's why it's to the south of that door a little bit.
Stand corrected. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions regarding pedestrian movement? Okay. The next one was snow storage requirements. So snow storage is in the lower left corner. We've identified where snow storage is, but like the rest of the center, as snow continues, we would truck it off site just like we do throughout the town center. The need for excess parking requirements. So when Core purchased this lot from Tops, reciprocal easement, access easement was, easement agreement was recorded requiring that we have 10 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet of floor area if it's being used for a restaurant. This is actually the same requirement we have in the OEA throughout the town center. So each restaurant less than 5,000 square feet has the same amount of parking of 5 per 1,000 square feet for restaurants under 5,000 square feet.
Can I just ask,
10 per 1,000. 10 per 1,000. I'm sorry, you're at 10 per 1,000.
just out of curiosity, because Tops, when you bought that land from Tops, that was a requirement that they had?
It was a requirement that actually made it consistent with the
Correct.
OEA throughout the rest of the center.
But yeah, it was a requirement. They actually, it's in the, recorded, it's a reciprocal easement agreement that was recorded in the county clerk's office.
Okay,
And there were other things that we had to agree to, such as you couldn't have a building, so high that it would block their view, or, there was a few things, but, and also some access, reciprocal access, but they can't park there. It's just, what they didn't want is for us to overdevelop the site and not allow for
Take
enough
parking
parking,
from
and then
them.
all of our parking goes across the street on theirs. So
okay,
that's really what they were concerned about is, that we're fine if you want to put a restaurant there, we just don't want you to not have enough parking spaces, and then because you can park on top
No,
if you want,
yeah, that makes sense. They walk across the street. and
Yeah,
go- Yeah,
And it is
Okay.
allowed, they just wanted to make sure, like, throughout the center, you can park, you have reciprocal easements everywhere, so you are allowed to park, but obviously, if there's not enough parking, you're gonna end up using theirs more, and they didn't want that.
okay, all right, thank you.
And what I think Carly was trying to say is that, because this requirement, we have it throughout our center because of our operating easement agreement throughout the center. If you have a restaurant of 5,000, up to 5,000 square feet, we, by virtue of this agreement in place, have to provide 10 per 1,000 square feet. So for instance, the Panera that we have right now has 10 per 1,000. Mixed in there, you can't really tell because it's part of the center, as does McDonald's. You have to have 10 per 1,000. So what I think we're saying is this parking, while it's more than what your code requires for a restaurant, it is consistent with what we have in our center as far as the number of parks. And so it won't look out of character. It will be in keeping with the rest of the area. And I think it's for a reason that restaurants need more parking, and that's what they're trying to protect is, if I have a shopping center and you used it all up with your restaurant, this isn't gonna work for me. So
Right.
everybody agrees to these. So this one is in keeping with what we have in the rest of the center. It was required by Tops.
Okay. And Jamie, have you got a copy of that so that whatever we approve here won't be in violation of whatever?
We don't care if it's in violation of that. I think it's just for information only, because this is actually a separate lot. So we're just following our code according to the lot.
To that.
Mhm.
I did bring it in case one.
Yeah, you can bring it in case I need it. Yes, why don't you go ahead
It's what-
and we'll put it on file.
Yeah, I didn't give you the whole document, it's just too much. I gave you the.
I know, I'm a pain, I know, I
That's
get
okay.
it.
I planned on it.
Oh.
Thanks.
That's the area.
And I'm presuming number 6 is satisfied based upon the additional materials you provided with us tonight.
Yes.
7 and 8 are regarding Aqua, the water line on site. So we've located on site. We've been trying to get them to agree to the location or tell us where they wanted location. We've been updating them with plans and just chasing them at this point. So we do not have confirmation from them on that, but we are working on that.
Okay.
And the last one was DEC consent order, offset the sewer plan. Again, the WEF has been updated with the plans and we've been wishing for a response on those.
We've not been able to get feedback from them, but Doug, I don't know how it's worked in the past with WEP. I know
Yeah,
that
it's
we,
different because in the past, right in the past year, we flipped over. So the town gave the sewers to WAC, so that was be a direct coordination with WAC.
right. And the last one we did was Chase Bank, and we had to put in, I didn't know if they were hard to get a hold of or you've had any problems, but we had to do certain types of devices in our manhole covers for infiltration. So we did that with Chase Bank. I don't know if that's what they're requiring now, but we agree to whatever offset they will require of us. And same with Onondaga County Water Authority. My understanding is they'll cap the existing, abandon, and relocate the line, and they take your plans and approve them, and they do the work. Aqua will.
Getting them to do it is the hard part.
Right, I've been through that. It is difficult. And that's why, you know, we really are pressing them now to review, but I was told they won't review the plans until you get the town to approve them. Like, they won't actually review, Aqua won't, until the town said, okay.
We're in the catch-22 because there's some towns that will not approve the plans until we got the water located and sewer located.
Right.
But that could be contingency from our.
Yeah, so,
right?
yeah, so conditioned on them approving the plan and relocating the water line. We can't build over their water line. I mean, we can't do this without, you know, they're not, you know, that's not allowed over their easement. We can't put the building over their easement. So we have to cap it. Well, they have to cap it. I think it's just a matter of where is the line? Do they like where we've shown the new line? It makes the most sense from an engineering standpoint, but did they have other considerations that they want to tweak this, what, you know, one way or the other?
I've got one other question of you before I refer to our engineer. In the county recommendation, county was fine with most of the things, but they did mandate that you forward your lighting plan to the DOT for DOT approval. Have you folks done that?
I think we have done that very early on in the process. We sent it to them. But we can do that, and we coordinated with them on, I think we did send it because they had a comment on it. We did.
A separate comment, a later comment, because we just have the one that says send it.
No, usually with the DOT. Yeah, the DOT comment on the lighting plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we did get a comment on that early on. And I think we revised the lighting because they had said there was some spillage. We couldn't have that.
Okay.
So do I have a confirmation that they're okay with that? I don't, but we can get that.
Okay. My next question is to the town engineer. Doug, we don't have the new SWIP in, and we don't have, are you able to make a recommendation to the board relative to this without the SWIP and without final location of the water and sewer?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't see anything that would preclude them from meeting their SWIP. The original SWIP that they had was fine.
Right, and it's just separate the buildings.
Yeah, Andy
So
just sent it over
subject to
today.
SWIP, I suppose.
So I'm fine, reviewing that and working with Keith Carter to get that taken care of.
All right, I'll open it to the board if the board has questions.
Is there anything to be done about the light spillage from the lot? Somebody pointed out that there was.
Yeah, we addressed it in the next plan. The lighting was changed to take that off.
But we don't have it here.
I think it's in the plans. I think because this was the first iteration that we sent to them way back when.
This is the one that's it's 9:15.
Right, you should be fine.
Yeah. I can.
Because, obviously, we've sent this to the county 3 times now.
I never know how to look at a lighting plan because it still has these plus numbers right along the edge. So I don't know what spillage, how much spillage.
Well, I think it has to be so you're in the right of way, are you on the pavement,
This is towards MC Street. Well, I'm just looking all the way around.
But I think the point is the condition would be that DOT approves your lighting plan. You get sign off.
Okay.
Right, we have no problem with that.
So whatever we do is be dependent
Yeah.
on getting some type of documentation from DOT that
You
they're
can
saying.
usually get it if you change the water, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about the SWIP plans, Doug. Do you have to do a full-blown SWIP on a property like this? That's obviously not, the runoff is not going to be any different after it is right now, because it's all paper.
It's pages now. Yeah.
SWIP, I think my understanding is it's like it's called like a redevelopment. When you've got pavement and you don't have the same criteria as you do when you're starting fresh.
Is there a simplified,
It is that I'm not, Doug, I don't want to speak for you, but you can, the SWIP is, requirements are less onerous because you've already got pavement and you're, yeah, they are less onerous.
I would think there's no change.
Well, they always get you on something, if you're doing.
Yeah, but I
some
mean,
change, they're
basically,
gonna-
I mean, it's all impervious and it will be impervious.
They do make you, because since this was put in, the guidelines and regulations have changed, they've become more strict.
Mm.
They do get you, and so there's some pervious pavement now in what we're proposing in our SWIP.
Okay.
You just don't have to go like 100%, you do want like it's like a lesser percentage of what is required, I understand, for a brand new development.
Okay, so I guess,
does your plan show up some pervious pavement?
Yeah, there is. There is porous pavement. We're proposing porous pavement on the spaces to the left of the site plan on the west.
The west.
So on all on the west side, all the way down the west side of the property there?
Correct.
Okay. So that's where the porous pavement is. I don't know if you can see it on the soil and erosion plan. It would be on there. And is it on the soil erosion plan? I don't know where it's supposed to be.
No, it's on the site plan. It shows it, and on the utility plan.
Shaded on the site plan. Yeah, if you look on C100.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So
Probably
Because
that
this- 'cause it's so
will get
dark.
used a lot anyway.
that's the idea.
Porous asphalt pavement section.
That's probably a good idea.
That's what we're talking about.
I just wonder what snow plows will do to that kind of pavement. Whether it's-
You have to maintain it more. You do.
Yeah, plows, if they have a poly strip on the bottom, it's fine, which some of them do. So we'll make sure that whoever's maintaining the lot knows of the requirement.
There is, so it's over an acre. So that's part of the reason for this.
Because you're over an acre.
Okay.
Yeah, we're over an acre, so we're required to comply with stormwater regulations for a redevelopment site, which we are. We do have a vortechnic chamber that will help with the sediment leaving the site on the southeast corner of the site.
Very, very similar to what we did recently in the bank over there.
Okay, based upon where we're at right now, we should proceed forward with SIPA.
Can I ask
Mhm.
just one more question? We've got a pretty good parking area, drive area, so on. We've got one very small area to store snow. But this, where's the rest of it going?
They said they were gonna move it off-site.
Yeah, so in the center, when you get a big snowfall, sometimes you pack it up behind Stickley, but at a certain point, you truck it offsite.
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you're gonna be pushing snow some way in this area. There's no place to store it until you truck it off site. That's the only question I have.
Just in that southwest corner.
Yeah, you just pile it up there and then, or you pick it up, you plow it to the corner and pick it up and get out of there.
Okay, I usually you lose a couple of parking spots
do.
or whatever,
You
and I
do.
get that. That's
You're
okay.
right.
Okay, that was it.
But we've managed snow in the center pretty well. I mean, we really have.
No, you do.
And, It's an
I
ongoing yearly.
Yeah,
event,
I know.
know.
And then in the spring it melts and
That's how that works.
for 6 months.
Okay, if we're ready to go, Jamie?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so moving through the questions on part 2. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
You might want to expound on that. Was it some discussion?
The state commented, said it was insignificant.
Also, there was a
Also-
traffic study
Yes.
by the
We had a
applicant.
draft study.
I also talked to the town police, and they said that the accident frequency was absolutely normal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arnie.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Answering all of those as minimal or small impact.
Can I ask
Chair,
you,
yes.
can I ask you to read the second question again?
The second question was, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
Minimal, if any.
It's minimal, yeah. It is a change, but it's minimal. Okay.
So every question was answered, small or no impact, so the chair can entertain a motion
And I would so entertain a motion.
for negative
So-
seeker
so made
declaration.
negative seeker, yeah.
Second. Motion made and second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Negative declaration.
Correct.
We are in a position to vote on this at this time, contingent only upon getting a statement from DOT confirming that. I would be remiss if I didn't address one issue. Most of the opposition coming in on this was from the neighbors in Walnut Street, Fayette Manor.
Yeah.
Fayette Manor, Mr. Taylor and another gentleman who were very strong and mentioned the accidents. But it would seem to me that their biggest problem is they're claiming that it already exists, that there's too much of a traffic issue. And we've got the traffic reports indicating that this is going to have a minimal increase in traffic. And I really haven't seen a correlation between the accidents that they're accounting for, which I believe they're accurate when they're accounting for it. But then this development, I can't see a correlation. And based upon what Arnie said this evening, that he made contact with law enforcement, and they're saying that it's perfectly normal, the rate of accidents. We try to avoid all accidents, but at some point you don't stop all further development because of that. So with that in mind, I would entertain a motion relative to this project. And
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second,
motion made and second. Any
discussion,
I think there were conditions, 2 conditions
Yes.
we talked about.
that's, yeah,
The SWIP approval of the town engineer and the DOT approval of the lighting plan.
Yes.
we mentioned that, right?
that was what I
That
wanted
was-
to discuss.
Okay.
So that's incorporated. Both of those are incorporated in the pending motion.
Okay,
All in favor?
aye,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Also, there's a light there, so unless they jump the light there at the thing and take a right on red.
And that's what they're indicating is partially the problem, and that's got nothing to do with the
Right.
development.
That's-
Right.
yeah.
No, if anybody would ask, I would recommend that we put a lot of
If you
cameras
want to
there.
sign it, yeah, before we go.
Check better enforced or turn on red.
Oh,
That's done in a lot of places.
Okay.
Thank you very much
This is
for all your
great.
patience with
Carol,
us,
thank you.
and I think between all of us, we made this a much better site plan and hopefully a really good project for the town and the town.
I appreciate you working with us, because you did make some changes that I think
It took us a
needed.
while.
Yeah,
Significant changes.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, guys. Have a good one.
Yep.
Thank you.
The last item on our agenda this evening, CVE North America. This is a subdivision plan and special use permit for a solar array located at Newgood Road. We can only go so far on this because we have declared this a type 1 action, and therefore we cannot proceed forward to dispose of it. But I think the first thing we need to do is to make a determination as to whether this is 1 solar plant or 3 solar plants. Did someone have a motion they wanted to make on this?
I'll make a motion. It's 3 projects.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Richard, second by Arnie. Any discussion?
Well, I'll discuss a little bit. We know that NYSERDA considers this 3 projects. We know, I believe, National Grid considers this 3 projects. In the process of moving this thing forward, I don't think 1 or 3 makes any difference whatsoever. So to not call it what it is, I believe is a mistake. So that's why I made the motion as 3 projects.
Do
Well,
we have a problem if we've got 3 projects right that close together with your?
I've read and reread our law, and it gives the planning board discretion as to whether or not, I'm not sure what the proper term would be. Maybe
Rich.
Jamie, you can help me out.
Rich, I've got it right here.
You've got it right there.
It's called saturation, Fred. In considering whether to issue a special use permit, the town board shall consider the proximity of similar large solar energy systems to the one being proposed. In no event shall a large-scale energy solar system be placed within 1 mile of an existing LSES without specific findings by the town board that such placement does not adversely affect the community character of the surrounding properties.
And I-
Determined by the town
so,
board?
so I believe, by the way, that word town board should be removed and because it is now the planning board that is doing the special
Special
permits.
permits.
Right.
That'll be probably in the next.
And
go
It'll
Fred,
around.
my-
Yeah.
to
Fixing
answer
things.
specifically your question, the site visit today was very important to me because if this facility could be viewed by neighboring properties, it would be an issue to me. And being up there, I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to see this thing once it's built. So I am comfortable in the belief that having these 3 projects within a mile will not be an issue. That's my belief after seeing it. A month ago, it was a real problem to me. But now that I've seen the area and where it's going, I don't have a problem with it. But as I've said, I'm just 1 vote.
I'm in favor of the motion. We just have to read it. We just have to read, Jamie has to read 3 times.
Well, it is, it's,
I'm in favor of 1 project.
so,
Since 1 state agency has determined that it is 3 plants, I've given more thought to this, and I think if since the state agency has determined it's 3 plants, we should also conclude that it's 3 plants, but that doesn't prevent us from handling it as 1 for subdivision purposes, subdivisions and special use permit purposes.
Well, I kind of thought of it as 1
the-
project.
well,
with 2
certainly the
segments.
subdivision is a single action. That- Right, there's no question about that. The subdivision is single action. The special permits could be 3 special permits.
Okay.
Especially.
Didn't we say last time, though, that we don't necessarily want it to be 3 special permits so that 1 can do something different from the others eventually, or is that, or were we talking about something
Well,
else?
If we are treating it as 3 projects or even 1, either way, we want to make sure there's the easements between the projects. If it is a separate parcel and one part of it is sold off, we will have to have something in place about the reciprocal easements having to run with the land, right? So, you know, as far as seeker, I think that it's one project. Because you're not supposed to be bifurcating, but segmenting projects that are all kind of the same,
Yeah.
right? for lack
I'm
of
okay with that,
And I think
looking at it from seeker,
It
but
sounds right.
looking at it from special use and site plan,
Mhm.
I would like to see it as 3 separate projects because it is.
So your motion might be modified as follows.
Okay,
That for purposes of subdivision, this will be treated as a single subdivision project. I think there's no choice on that. For purposes of seeker, it will be treated as one project. For purposes of site plan and special permit, these are 3 separate projects requiring 3 separate actions.
that was my motion.
And
You
I
didn't
knew
hear,
that.
I must have missed some of that, but that was my motion.
Lisa, did you get all that?
I think I did.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Richard and Arnie. Do we need to discuss further? Anyone
Well,
else?
one of the reasons that you talked about 3 different things was Carson indicated that almost as soon as this starts up, it's going to be sold off into 3 separate entities anyhow.
Sold off? I thought they were gonna keep them.
They're going to
But they
keep them,
name
but
them separate.
they're going to flip them into 3 LLCs.
Right.
Carson,
Right.
did I hear you right?
That's correct, owned by CBE.
Owned by
Oh,
CBE, but that doesn't mean they're going to be owned by CBE forever.
That's right.
If any one of those 3 wants to do something different or has a problem for whatever reason, wouldn't it be much easier if we were dealing with that entity and that entity only? I'm thinking down the road.
Oh, and we're gonna do that if we get to that point with the special use permit and the subdivision
Right.
itself, but we will be doing that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
And that's also with decommissioning. There's nothing that says they're going to be decommissioned all at the same time,
Correct.
especially if 3 different owners. One might say, we're not making enough money. We've got something we could do better with this property. Let's decommission it and get on
And
with
then
something else.
instead of one price cost for decommissioning, we're gonna need to have a 3 breakdown.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yep,
Yep.
that's,
Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of that motion?
I,
Aye. Any opposed? One opposed. The motion carries. Now, unfortunately, we can't go any further because of the type 1 declaration. We can't proceed forward with special use permit or the subdivision itself. So we're gonna be on hold. Did we cover everything tonight?
Yeah, I just, do I have the reciprocal easements? Were they sent to me already? I'll have to dig
Sure.
through it's been a while.
I can resend. I remember updating the site plans to show the easements.
Mhm.
Oh, you mean the
writ-
the easement document across the parcels?
The written,
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to double check.
I know that if I got it, I didn't read it, so you may as well
Okay.
send them to me again. They're in
Sure.
some way back, correspondence. So if you can please do that, get me the written
Yeah.
and it's,
easements.
and it's very important because we have 3 separate LLCs, 1 entrance. So one of the LLCs is granting easements to the other 2
Yes.
to get there. So we need, I think we need to know
Oh,
the
yeah.
names of the LLCs, who's granting what, who's grantor,
Not
grantee.
necessarily at this point, as long as there's a place saver for them. But if you do have them, that would be
That
great.
runs with the
Yeah.
land, that'll cover it
I
all.
think we showed
Right.
the location on the plans. I don't know that we drafted the actual document yet. but it's a-
So that's gonna be something. So we have some time, right? Because we have to, the notice, the type 1 went out, so we can't do anything else from this standpoint, but I think the discussion is, what else do we want from the applicant? Because we may not see them again. If this is heading toward an approval, we're gonna have to make a finding relative to the law that exists right now. And,
So
yeah,
is the next meeting October 25th?
Yes,
it
sir.
is.
I had people ask several questions on this particular solar installation. And
Which is the 30 days anyway, so.
I sent it to CVE and they answered them very well. But I think this ought to be part of the record because there's a couple things in here that pertain to, cleaning up and stuff.
Yeah, yes, Yes.
I don't know if you've read this or not.
I
but-
read them all.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't believe you had that many questions.
But anyway, so the questions that they answered very well, I think, should be part of the
Do we have
record.
any
Thank you.
problem?
Or you
making that
got it.
part of the
Yep.
record?
Not a bit.
Okay, that's part of the record, Ann.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just wanted to know for what it's worth, I'm Ashley Champion from Mix and Peabody.
Yes.
I'm here, standing in for my colleague Jared Lusk, who's out of town this week. But on just the conversation and the motion that just took place, the path that you're going down is, completely typical and appropriate for where we have co-located
Mhm.
sites. It's obviously one action under seeker has to be one
Mhm.
seeker review, so we're avoiding segmentation. Obviously, the subdivision is one application, and it's really the town's prerogative. We've seen it go both ways. Some municipalities will issue one special permit, one site plan approval that just references the three project sites and three
Mhm.
parcels, like we would for a residential subdivision, right? You might do one site plan approval, even though you have 40 lots or whatever it may be. Others, bifurcate and do separate special permits, separate site plan approvals. So I think that's completely appropriate, and given this provision in your law where you have to make a finding in any event, that there's no issue with the three projects within the 1 mile radius of one another, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think procedurally, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
okay,
That's good.
okay.
It's just from my knowledge, what should I expect at the next meeting, October 25th? Exactly what are we looking to accomplish there?
We are looking to vote relative to a special use permit. And we're looking to vote relative to the subdivision and site plan
Understood.
of it.
Yeah,
And the seeker determination.
Correct.
and the
Yes.
conditions to the special use permit,
So we do have.
if any,
We do have some conditions.
yeah,
We will look at let's look at the ones we did before, maybe send them to the applicant ahead of time. So they know what our conditions tend to be.
okay.
Okay,
Was one of the conditions the length of time?
Yeah, the term is most
Yeah.
important.
And how about Arnie should handle this, but the statement that the money set aside for decommissioning
Commission.
has to be taken into account. before-
separated and mhm.
We'll divide that up amongst the
Yeah.
particular lots.
Is it typically a bond or a letter of credit?
Nobody can get
Cash.
bonds for that one.
Cash.
Okay.
It normally would be cash up front.
We haven't provided an estimate yet. Should we fill that in?
You should work on that, and then
Provided
Doug
to
will
Doug.
review it
Okay,
for
yeah,
determination of what the appropriate.
And have you decided on a length of time for these kind of projects? Because it's kind of different than law offices.
It is. We,
Length of time for the,
special use permit
Okay.
for the duration of the special use
Before it's
permit.
reviewed.
okay, you put an expiration.
We
on the special
routinely-
permit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Have a 7-year term for special use permits. When dealing with solar issues,
Mhm.
we have extended that to 15 years.
okay,
And I understand you folks would love us to do 25 years.
yeah,
I don't believe this board is going to do that. I think that would be expecting something that will not take place. But in this town, a request for renewal of a special use permit
sure.
is ordinarily granted, provided you're in compliance with all the rules and you're doing everything right, and there's no complaints from the neighbors as to your operation. We do not hesitate, we do not give a hard time on renewals. But we would expect you'd have to come back in 15 years and ask for additional time,
sure.
whether it be the 10 years or whether you want to do it for another 15.
Okay,
Things change in this particular type of an operation. Science is advancing very quickly, and we don't know what would be ahead 15 years from now.
Yeah, understood.
Okay,
anything else that we should be prepared for, or any other information that
Yeah.
can be provided in the interim, so there's not any delay on our part in October?
if we think of anything, we will let you know immediately.
I think that site visit today was very important, at least for me and maybe others too, just to see where that piece of
Are
property
you gonna
is.
do anything with
Great
that entrance? Are you gonna do anything with that?
I think there might be a small CVE sign, but there'll be a gate like that.
No, I mean the roadway itself.
Yes, yeah, we'll redesign and install a much more
Yeah.
significant road with there's a detail. Yeah, yeah, I mean, we had a jungle safari today to get back there, we're gonna improve it a little bit.
And you should.
Carson, did you,
It'll be about 20 feet wide. And, fire code compliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
fire and EMS, those kinds of access.
Yeah, you put it in the thing.
Right.
I was just wondering.
Okay, thank you,
And
folks.
then just to be clear, on the special permit, if and when, it's hopefully issued, it will have then this express finding that's required about the saturation point here.
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
we are gonna absolutely have that covered.
Okay, perfect.
Yes,
That will be covered.
and the easement document to our attorney.
Right, easement document, decommissioning estimate. And anything else that pops up. All right,
Get your car washed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I owe Joe a car wash.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.
Folks, I got two other items that are not on the agenda. I wanted to address firstly, we periodically get a lot of pressure to have items added to our agenda that are not being timely filed. And we received that request past week to have items added. We can bend some rules on time filings for the necessity of our constituents to help our community. But as in that case, they provided no additional documentation at all. It would be premature and it would have been totally inappropriate. So sometimes it appears we're giving a hard time by denying the application to come on for a special session. But I wanted to inform you that we think these things through, and if we can waive the filing requirements, we will, if it's appropriate. But if it's not appropriate, then we tell them no. Okay,
Kind of depends on whether it needs to be reviewed by the board.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Rosalia hates it.
I do, and I'm gonna tell you, when I first got on, and I think Fred, you were the only one that was on. When I first got on. And we would have, just to let this board know, we would come into a meeting and developers would come in, or applicants, I should say, and they'd have a set of plans and they'd set them down and they were expecting us to vote on them that night.
Mhm.
And we hadn't even seen them yet. And it's like, no, stop. And Fred and I said, it's not gonna happen anymore. And Barb set these timeframes that you gotta have so many days ahead of time, so the board has a chance to review these things. So I hear what you're saying. I understand. If it's a simple thing, I'm okay with it. If it's a complex thing, I'm gonna push back on you, Joe.
And Madam Secretary did an excellent job of defending our position and making it clear that nothing was going to be filed because there was nothing filed in order for us to review.
Okay,
Thank you.
They wanted to bring it in tonight.
yeah, not gonna happen.
No.
Not gonna happen.
Folks, immediately before this meeting began, and I mean 2.5 minutes before it began, we were served with subpoena duces tecum. I would entertain a motion to declare executive session.
I'll
That's
do that.
all.
Second.
Motion made by Fred and second by Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Aye. Motion carries.
I'll second Fred's motion.
Yeah, and I made it.
I was there, Fred. I was there. Motion by Fred, second by Richard to stand adjourned.
Do that very unprofessional.
So we call